Hello everyone, welcome back to Remind, knowledge-sharing channel self-development through good books. This week, I want to share with you an incredibly valuable book. Life is not merely the immediate and the provisional. It is also poetry and distant horizons. But in reality, how many of us dare to set aside the worries of our present daily lives? How many dare to cast off economic anxieties, desires and ambitions to pursue what is called poetry and faraway places, to exhale and find joy from the depths of one's soul, while the lingering journey is to step lightly over the cravings for immediate stability? As the genius novelist Maugham wrote in The Moon and Sixpence, most people become what they are forced to become, not what they wish to become. The moon represents the ideal, the sixpence represents reality. Which will you choose? Will you look up and chase the moon suspended on high, or will you bow your head for the sacks of rice that reality demands? The answer will undoubtedly differ for each person. Discussing the book Walden, a true story of the writer Henry David Thoreau, at the age of 28, he abandoned the potential to develop his business and become wealthy. Instead, he cast aside all worldly desires, took an axe, went into the woods, built a log cabin, and lived alone by the beautiful Walden Pond. Some who hear this story say that the act of leaving alone to live a solitary life is truly selfish. In reality, we still have families, spouses, children, parents, and all sorts of responsibilities to attend to. How can one live like that? Conversely, many others draw profound inspiration from Thoreau's story of living alone by Walden Pond. They realize it is time for them to live as themselves and move to their own rhythm. Seeing these two opposing streams of emotion, I was left with one question. What creates this divergence, and how can each person live a life without regret? Then, upon revisiting the pages of The Moon and Sixpence, I found the answer. And today I share it in this video to contribute to your awareness and perspective in your own life choices. Part 1. Your awareness determines what kind of life you pursue. Strickland. The story's protagonist was a stockbroker in London. He had a job that earned enough for his whole family to live in the city centre. He married a wife who managed the household modestly and had two obedient, lovely children. One could say Strickland had a successful career, ample income, a happy family, respected status, and lived a life admired by many. But what no one expected was that this middle-aged man, seen by others as quiet and somewhat dull, suddenly abandoned everything he had painstakingly built in the first half of his life to go to Paris alone. He left behind a letter of less than 10 lines, telling his wife he would not return. At 40 years old, Strickland coldly and indifferently discarded his wife and children for a vague dream, to become a painter. In the eyes of others, he made a foolish and mistaken decision. Firstly, it was wrong because he gave up a comfortable, stable life to struggle out there in poverty and destitution. Strickland devoted all his time and energy to painting, completely unconcerned with food, clothing, or shelter, living only to maintain the bare minimum. He took any menial job to earn money quickly, but when he had enough, he spent it all on oil paints and locked himself in his room to paint. The second mistake was his recklessness in making such a risky, blind decision for an uncertain future. If one starts learning to paint at 18, there might be promise, but he relied only on a childhood dream, was now older, had low technical skill, yet aspired to be a painter. In people's eyes, he was truly foolish, and yet he said, "You are the real fool. I told you I must paint. I can't help myself." When a man falls into the water, it doesn't matter if he swims well or not. He must struggle to shore or he will drown. Ponder this. Must one be a good swimmer to cross? Must one have this or that condition to realize a dream? Is he the fool, or is it the world that is unwise? Many people out there use others' standards of success and benefit to measure their own choices, using their finite time to endure an unhappy life they dislike. Meanwhile, a person who spends their finite life pursuing a dream, regardless of its success or failure, regardless of gain or loss, is that foolish or courageous? The psychologist Carl Jung once noted, "People will try every means, explore every corner, to avoid facing their own soul. But only those who dare to face their soul are the ones who awaken. Strickland was certainly one who dared to face his soul. He dared to leap from his comfort zone and courageously pursue his dream. Whether material things are trivial or supreme, a treasure to cling to or a shoe to be discarded, it all depends on you. Countless people only timidly glance at the moon and continue to bow their heads, chasing the sixpences they depend on for food and clothing. Here, the moon symbolizes the noble ideal and the wonderful goal within the soul, while the sixpence, of very small denomination, represents the mundane and practicalities of life. We live in a world where sixpences cover the floor, filled only with hustle, fleeting desires, and bowing heads. Are we not like slaves to the years, hastily chasing this finite time, trapped in a net woven by relationships with others, then forgetting our initial pursuit and becoming numb to having to become someone? If you look down at the ground searching for sixpences, instead of looking up at the sky, you will miss the moon. Inherently, each of us has a ditch, a small stream. Only those who stubbornly insist that human life is too short, saying, "I just want to live the rest of my life in the way I like," can transform themselves into deep rivers and vast seas. But if you think the author Maugham is feeding you a bit of toxic hype for the soul, you have underestimated him. The famous philosopher Schopenhauer once said, "The greatest prison in this world is human awareness. What binds a person's life is not their wealth, job, or family, but their awareness." Awareness differs. Life pursuits differ. Happiness or not is entirely defined by you. The Moon and Sixpence. No matter what you choose, the ultimate value you can attain, only your own heart will have the answer. Part 2. Your awareness determines your life's priorities. Strickland's wife came from a noble background and loved the spotlight. For her, life was originally a river flowing silently, but one day it suddenly became turbulent because her husband left without warning, leaving behind a mess and shattering the peaceful reality. After being together for 17 years, the husband she thought was the closest turned out to be most distant. It wasn't due to an affair, but because of painting. He abandoned both wife and children, making her feel immensely ashamed and humiliated. She fell into despair, but also woke up immediately because her support had collapsed. She could only stand up on her own. She quickly learned typing, while also renting out the house, selling belongings, and moving to a small house. Even without someone, the earth continued to spin. With hard work, her career gradually improved, and her children grew up successful. Finally, she could move to a new apartment, stop the typing work, and return to the upper class. Because in her awareness, relying on others was utterly inglorious. Only self-reliance, along with a proper external appearance and the ability to show off with pride, was the lifelong goal she pursued. Awareness differs. The priorities one decides on in life will differ, and therefore the direction of effort will also differ. As long as you feel truly happy with what you do and pursue, with no internal noise, no conflict or struggle, then any choice cannot be distinguished as right or wrong, noble or lowly. It is all answered by your own heart. Strickland placed painting above all else. He did everything to realize his dream. His wife placed face and reputation first, so she worked hard and diligently to achieve her desired goal. You will surely reap what you sow, and it is no coincidence that two people who lived together for 17 years parted ways, because now their awareness was completely different. A founding philosopher of German classical philosophy once said, "I respect any independent soul. Even if there are some I do not acknowledge, I can try my best to understand. Some like the hazy moonlight, some like the practical coin. Different awareness, though difficult to reconcile, mutual respect is best." You need not live cautiously within others' awareness, nor do you need to point fingers or criticize others' way of life or perception. Whatever the priority in life, there is no fixed measure. Just face your soul, live as yourself, and strive your hardest. That is precisely what the author wants to convey to you. Part 3. Your awareness determines how you treat others. Another character in the novel is Struve, a painter past 30 but already bald. His painting skills were rather clumsy, but he had a wonderful eye for aesthetics and was excellent at discovering genius. He was the only one who could understand Strickland's paintings, and went all out to help him. When Strickland fell seriously ill, Struve brought him home to care for him, even when his wife vehemently objected. Unexpectedly, upon bringing Strickland home, Struve's wife, who initially despised Strickland, perhaps fell in love with this man at first sight. The process of caring for Strickland inevitably involved contact. She became truly infatuated with him and wanted to live with him. Struve was in extreme agony, but because he loved his wife and also admired Strickland's artistic talent, he ultimately chose to withdraw, giving up the house to his wife and Strickland, hoping they could be happy together. But surprisingly, it didn't take long for Strickland to abandon her. Everyone would think Strickland was truly a scoundrel in love, but in the end it was because Strickland and Blanche did not share the same awareness. The two had completely different life goals. Blanche pursued romantic love. For love, she didn't care about the world's views, but she needed her lover's closeness. However, in Strickland's heart, art was supreme. He did not want to spend time on romance. Therefore, he finally chose to abandon her. For him, two people with different awareness and pursuing different goals in life could not stay together forever in love. Returning to Struve, who loved his wife deeply, upon hearing the news, he hoped she would return to him. But his waiting only resulted in a painful outcome. She drank poison and killed herself for love of another. Yet even so, Struve's love for his wife did not affect his admiration for art. He invited Strickland to live with him in his Dutch homeland, but was refused. One could say the character Struve was a good person throughout. He was like a farmer holding a poisonous snake, bitten by the snake, forgetting the pain as the wound healed and continuing to hold the snake to his chest. Struve seemed a unified entity of the contradictions God created. He was short, fat, often misunderstood as a pompous rich man, but in truth, he was a painter with an artistically sharp eye. His paintings lacked authenticity, were flashy and distorted, but he was an honest man who didn't know how to speak grandiosely. He was kind-hearted, compassionate, and generous. He also never thought he would meet Strickland, a man who saw no one else and was ungrateful and faithless. He loved his wife more than himself, even when faced with her betrayal. He was mocked by colleagues, but still helped those who borrowed money. He lived like that, constantly giving without expecting anything in return. As said in the novel, a noble and altruistic person, even with an extremely painful outcome, cannot hide the greatness in Struve's nature. Some say Struve was pitiful and foolish, but others can understand his nobility. Different awareness means each person's way of treating others will differ. Some live happily helping others without expecting repayment, while others are selfish, preferring to secure benefits only for themselves, seeing only themselves. But no matter what, however harsh life may be, there is always a place that belongs to you, where you can entrust your clear conscience and love for all things. Your awareness will determine how you treat others. No matter what do the things your conscience tells you, live fully and give love. This book says, do what you want, live in circumstances you like, peaceful and tranquil without struggle, a life of freedom in your own understanding. That is a life of awareness, with a guiding and illuminating spirit. Success or failure, each person defines it for themselves. Awareness differs, life choices will differ. Some seek fame and profit, some desire peace, leisure, and freedom. Our entire lives, how we choose to live, depends entirely on each person's awareness. So now how must we live to have no regrets? Adler once said, "You do not live to meet the expectations of others, and others do not live to meet your expectations. Listen to your own heart and choose the way of life you like. Is that not the greatest success in life?" A person's life is not just a narrow path. How can one bind it with words like success, failure, good, bad, right, wrong? Everyone has their own way of life. Others have no right to interfere. Nor is there any distinction between high or low ways of living, as long as you like it. Van Gogh said, "There is a fire in everyone's heart. Passers-by only see the smoke. You live for the fire in your heart, not for the smoke in others' eyes. Whether looking up at the starry sky or walking on the ground, live the way you want. As long as you feel no internal conflict or struggle, that is enough. And those who always strive to pursue their dreams are all truly beautiful." May both you and I, all of us, Have a wonderful life, live as desired, and give our all to this life. Thank you for listening. If you found this video helpful, please share it with those who need it. Support Paraversion with a like, follow, and turn on the notification bell to watch my latest videos. Thank you once again, and see you in the next videos.